Hello, and welcome to my review of WWE Payback 2023. I'll be assessing how I did in terms of predictions, what I thought of each individual match, what I thought of the show as a whole. Yeah, so stick around and find out. Let's jump right into it. So the show opened with a video package, as it pretty much always does. This one was focused on the Rhea Ripley Raquel Rodriguez match, the Shinsuke Nakamura Seth Rollins match, and the Trish Stratus Becky Lynch match. Then it moved on to John Cena, and then a little bit of time for the other matches, but not very much. Then they proceeded to start lowering the cage and went straight to a video package for Becky and Trish, which I put is not exactly a hot start for the live crowd. Like, usually, after the video package, the show kind of opens and some big stars' music hits to get the crowd immediately to pop and get them in the right place for the show, you know, like the right sort of mindset. They decided to lead with the cage lowering and a video package once the show had started. So yeah, it was a bit of a weird start, I imagine, if you were there live. The first match, obviously, with the cage lowering and the video package was Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus. My first note on this was I still hate that I don't care what y'all say that got added to Trish's music. We get it. She's heel. We understand that. It also doesn't fit with her gimmick because a big part of her heel persona has been how she's not been thanked enough. Where she doesn't care what y'all say, why is she so mad that she's not been thanked? Makes no sense. Doesn't fit with her gimmick. It's too on the nose for me. Everyone knows she's the heel. She's very good at playing the heel. She's very good at drawing heat. She doesn't need that. They showed Tiffany Stratton in the crowd because obviously she's had a bit of back and forth with Becky Lynch recently on social media after she cut a promo on NXT about being the best NXT Women's Champion, and she listed Becky Lynch, who then tweeted her saying I was never NXT Women's Champion. So they've had a little bit of back and forth. I think they're genuinely building to something there, which could be a lot of fun. They insisted on doing the standard start to a cage match, which is the heel trying to escape despite having done no damage to their opponent. And it's like, it's so dumb. It makes no sense. Trish Stratus has been I say has been in wrestling for this many years. Obviously hasn't. She had a big break, but she's been in wrestling since, or been in and around wrestling since what, more than 20 years ago. She should know better than to just try to climb the cage with Becky Lynch just stood right there. Like, I don't know. Makes no sense. Overall, though, once they get that nonsense out the way, which they always have to do, it was a good cage match. The crowd was super into it. There was a fun little throwback, and I'm glad commentary explained this, because as much as I understood whose move the Widow's Peak was, I didn't understand the significance. So the first ever women's cage match in WWE was Victoria versus Lita. Trish hit the Widow's Peak, which is Victoria's old finisher, and Becky hit the Twist of Fate, which, as we all know, is Matt Hardy's finisher. There was a massive lump on Trish's forehead. Like, I don't know what she actually headbutted. I assumed the cage or something, or it might have been like a wayward kick or something. But yeah, she had a proper like egg on her head. So yeah, I'm surprised she didn't get busted. It looked serious enough that I'm amazed it didn't break the skin, to be honest. But yeah, that was worth noting. They did the spot where you climb up on top of the cage, and both of them are up there, sat on the cage, straddling it, one leg inside, one leg outside, fighting. Just like in my WWE 2K23 match simulation over on EBEZAsimsgames, they did that same spot in that. And just like in that simulation, Trish got the better of it and chucked Becky down. However, Becky got back up, climbed up, and they ended up managing to trap Trish's legs in the top of the cage, and she ended up like falling into a tree of woe to the outside, which, based on the amount of time they took setting it up, was obviously perfectly safe, but that must still have been scary to just throw yourself backwards and assume you've hooked yourself up right, because that's career, if not life-ending injury if you just fall from that height to a concrete floor with a thin mat head first. Like, oh, yeah, I wouldn't even want to think. Then from there, they hit a superplex when Trish got her legs free. That got a 2. Becky tried climbing out. Trish went for the door. Becky spotted this and jumped down, realizing Trish would have got there first. Zoe Stark shows up, tries to pull Trish out. When Becky wins that tug of war over Trish, and then goes after Stark, Stark slams the door on Becky's face. Then there was a brief back and forth as she stumbled back into the ring, but she wins that, gets the manhandle slam on Trish, but then Zoe Stark gets into the cage through the open door and breaks up the pin. Becky and Zoe have a brawl. Becky hits the manhandle slam on Zoe. Trish is trying to climb out. Becky catches up with her. Avalanche manhandle slam, and that's the win by pin. Yeah, this is a good match overall. Michael Cole saying, I think we've just seen the match of the year, or whatever he said, might be a bit generous, but it was a really good match nonetheless. I enjoyed it. Lots of fun. Really good choice for the opener, except, like I said, for the weird pacing of making the crowd sit through the cage dropping and a video package. But to be honest, looking through the rest of the card, yeah, I'm not sure what else would have made a good opener. Maybe the street fight. I don't think you needed a video package for that one. So you could have just gone straight into like Kevin Owens' music hits as soon as the show starts and everyone pops, and then Sami's music hits, etc., etc. But yeah, other than that, I think this might have been the best choice for opener. After the match, Zoe Stark was helping Trish. Trish is not keen on the help and slaps her. Zoe then shuts the cage door, hits a Z360, and the commentators responded like this was a face turn. Michael Cole was very understanding of the motivations. Corey Graves, not so much, and Corey Graves is the heel commentator. Michael Cole's the face. There was no pop, and I don't really expect the fans to side with Zoe Stark over Trish Stratus. As I said earlier, though, Trish is really good at getting heat and being a heel, so, you know, maybe. But I just feel like the fans will side with Trish on this one. Zoe Stark has only been known to them as a heel. Trish is a legend, a Hall of Famer, has a little bit of, you know, good credit with the fans over the years. So yeah, I think putting up against Becky Lynch, you can get that heel reaction. But putting her against someone new to the main roster audience like Zoe Stark, maybe not so much. I don't know. We will have to wait and see. Next, we had a Shinsuke Nakamura video package, which was, focused around knowing about Seth's back injuries. Featured the line "Watch your back," which I liked. I liked it until they said it like 3 or 4 more times in different video packages throughout the night. Would have been good as a one-off throwaway line, but no, they have to be too unsubtle, don't they? Subtlety is not part of how WWE tells stories a lot of the time. And you can see that here. And I really hope they pull the trigger on Nakamura. More on that later. Next up was Cena, who apparently, as I hadn't watched SmackDown, is the host of Payback, which I didn't know as I hadn't watched SmackDown. And then he made himself the special guest referee for the Miz versus LA Knight. Miz came out, wasn't happy. Miz got a good line in, "You're almost 50 years old and you still dress like a Teletubby." Yeah, okay, taking the mick out of Cena's brightly coloured clothes might be a bit tired at this point, but you know what? It got a chuckle out of me. The "no, yeah" bit where Cena's putting over LA Knight's "yeah" chant was a bit contrived, honestly. But overall, this was fine. Cena asked Miz for advice, and Miz was like, "Be more involved, dress the part," and that's where the Teletubby line came in. And that felt a bit like foreshadowing. I had a feeling they might do like LA Knight beats the Miz, and then Cena's like, "You were saying I should get more involved and dress the part. Well, I'm dressed the part. This is how I dress when I wrestle. So I should get more involved and have a match. Let's fight you." And then just AA Miz and pin him. Like, doesn't need to be a match. I thought they might be going there. Obviously, they didn't. Anyway, LA Knight came out, and the next match is Miz versus LA Knight with Cena as the referee for some reason. The crowd mega into LA Knight to the surprise of no one. This was a very safe but fine match. Like, there was nothing that could really go wrong. And I was thinking about this, that like, because they had a special guest referee, that the referees these days aren't just, there to count the 3, and even the stuff the old referees did, like, making sure the match is timed out right, and they're keeping an eye on how long the wrestlers have, and relaying messages and stuff. They're also very, very important in terms of safety. these days, checking on the wrestlers after any big spots and, you know, just making sure everyone's good. Cena's not trained in that art. You know, obviously he's got a bit of an instinct for it, having been a wrestler. He knows what looks right and looks wrong. But, yeah, I think they did this because this was a very safe match to do it in. There was the standard special referee getting physically involved spot with, you know, the 5 counts in the corner. Miz ignored Cena's 5 counts, so then he drags Miz out the corner and LA Knight gets the advantage. And everyone's like, ooh, Cena and Miz. But then, because Cena's such a good guy and calls it down the middle, when LA Knight ignores the 5 count, he drags LA Knight out of the corner. And they get into a little bit of an argument. LA Knight kicked out of a skull-crushing finale in this match. Then Miz went for the 5-knuckle shuffle. LA Knight did like a backwards roll through handstand tip-up thing, which was nice. Slam, LA Knight's version of the People's Elbow, and then the blunt force trauma for the win. Yeah. Oh, I should say I predicted Becky Lynch to win the cage match, so I was 1 from 1. Predicted LA Knight to win this one, so I'm 2 from 2. So yeah, that's good. Cena seemed to get out of there real quick afterwards. I was wondering if Cena wasn't into the LA Knight thing and had no interest in particularly putting him over, so he did what WWE asked of him and then left. But he waited at the top of the ramp, and then when LA Knight got up to him, Cena took his shirt off for some reason, and they had a little bit of a square up and jaw jacking, but then Cena offered the handshake, said it's about respect. LA Knight accepted the handshake, and Cena raised his hand. So I guess I was wrong. It was a weird way to do it, though, to do it there instead of in the ring. I don't know. Whatever works. Up next was the Austin Theory Rey Mysterio video package, which started with Santos Escobar, and I put maybe time for the turn after this match. So that match was obviously up next for the United States Championship. And the commentators pointed out Rey Mysterio was wearing the same vest as he was the night Dominic turned on him. And I put, is that 2 on the nose even for WWE, for Escobar to turn on him as well, his new adopted son? Ray had Dominic crossed out on his jacket, which I thought was funny. And I put WWE isn't always the most subtle, so you know what, maybe this was WWE, like, foreshadowing what was going to happen. And then, so there was an interesting conversation during this match, just getting into the match now, on commentary, where I think it was Corey Graves asked Michael Cole, can you think of anyone who's climbed the ranks of WWE as quickly as Theory? And Cole said one person, Randy Orton. Now, first of all, Randy Orton is not the quickest person I can think of by some distance. Brock, Kurt, Taker. If we're talking just because clearly they've disregarded Theory's pre-WWE career, it's only since he came up to the main roster. So if we're counting only since they debut in WWE on the main roster, then yeah, Brock, Kurt, Undertaker. And also, Theory debuted in the main roster in March 2020. It's 3.5 years ago. That's quite a long time. The Rock was world champion within that time. Rock was gone within like 5 years. Like, let's be honest. Like, you know, his whole career was only like 5 years. Diesel, if we're not counting pre-WWE stuff, came in. He was WWF champion within that time. Like, I bet if I gave this some thought, there's loads of people who have climbed the ranks more quickly. It would just seem like a really weird conversation when there's such obvious examples. Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle, both still on good terms, by the way, because Brock's only just appeared in WWE at like the last show. Kurt had a documentary after this. Undertaker's obviously on good terms with WWE. The Rock seems to always be on reasonably good terms with WWE. Like, it just seems weird to... I don't know. Strange conversation. Anyway, the match itself was fine. The crowd weren't particularly invested in this one. I don't know if that was because of the stupid Cinnamon Crunch branding everywhere, but it certainly distracted me. The finish came when Ray hit a 619, went for the same awkward splash where he doesn't springboard it, he just throws himself over the top rope and barely clears it. He went for that same splash that he won the title with, basically, on SmackDown, but this time Theory got the knees up. Did a cool pickup. He sort of pressed him onto his own chest, then backwards roly-poly through with Ray and stood up. Went for the A-Town down, but Ray then reversed it into a roll-up and got the 3. It was a really cool finishing sequence. The match was fine, but not that amazing, and the crowd just were not interested at all. I predicted Ray to retain here, so I went for 3 out of 3. Yeah, not a lot else to say here. No turn from Santos Escobar. Turns out that would have been too blatant even for WWE. Up next, there was an interview backstage with Becky Lynch. She was interrupted almost immediately by Tiffany Stratton, who apologized for daring to claim Becky Lynch had won a title that she hadn't. It was, it was very snide the way she did it. I thought it was quite good. And Becky Lynch finished with maybe I'll see you soon. Told her to focus on a title defense on Tuesday and was like, maybe I'll see you soon. So, obvious foreshadowing is obvious. But you know what? I'm here for that. Putting a massive name like Becky Lynch into NXT and giving someone like Tiffany Stratton the experience of fighting a Becky Lynch can only be a good thing, right? I don't think Becky Lynch is going to win the NXT Women's Championship. They'll do some sort of shady business, or it'll be a non-title match, or I don't know, maybe Tiffany Stratton loses the title before she fights Becky Lynch. I don't know. But I think it'll be a lot of fun when it goes down. It's made me want to tune into NXT, and I don't watch NXT all that often, so that says all I need to say about why they're doing it and whether it's working, doesn't it? Up next was the street fight, the Steel City street fight, which is different to a normal street fight in absolutely no way at all. With Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn defending the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship against Damian Priest and Finn Balor. Owens had a Terry Funk top under his usual KO one, which was a nice touch. Took that off halfway through to reveal the Funk one. We had, just a decent amount of street fight, the usual stuff, weapons being used, kendo sticks, chairs, that sort of thing. And eventually, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn got the upper hand, and Judgment Day retreated into the crowd. And then when Owens and Zayn followed them, Dom got involved, because of course he did. And they threw, between the three of them, they threw Owens and Zayn over like this barrier thing, and then we're all celebrating and saying, let's take him back to the ring and pin him, Finn Balor said, explaining how professional wrestling works to Damian Priest, Mr. Money in the Bank currently. And then Owens and Zayn appeared wearing Pittsburgh Penguins clobber. That's the team name, right? The Pittsburgh Penguins, the hockey team, and they had hockey sticks as well. Owens was busted. I don't know quite what busted Owens open. Let me know in the comments if you know exactly what spot busted Owens open. I didn't notice what it was. But yeah, so he came up with just a red face, just covered in blood, and they both had a hockey jersey and a hockey stick in their hand. They fought back to the ring. Back in the ring, Zayn hit a blue thunder bomb on Balor onto some chairs. Then Owens and Zayn set up some chairs, set them up as if you were going to sit in them, but set them up touching with the backs facing away from each other. If you've watched it, you know what I mean. If you've not watched it, you probably don't know what I mean, but why you're watching a review of a show you've not watched. Strange. Yeah, and then Zayn got suplexed onto those by Priest. They went back into the crowd for a bit more brawling. Owens ended up putting Dom on a table, climbing up to the next tier and swantoning off. Basically missed, overshot it. Looked like a really horrible landing, just on his back on the concrete, not being softened by the table at all. I don't know if he did that on purpose to protect Dom or just misjudged it, but either way, ouch. Back in the ring towards the end of the match, Owens was fine, by the way, because he hit a stunner on Priest, and then Sami Zayn hit a haluva kick on Priest, went for the pin, and JD McDonough, don't Google me, broke it up by dragging Zayn out of the ring as he went for the pin. Owens hit a pop-up powerbomb to McDonough onto the announce table. The table did not give at all. It looked horrendous, like the way McDonough's back hit the corner of the table and bent over it, and there was just no give at all. Looked very painful. And then Rhea Ripley showed up and speared Kevin Owens through the barricade. I really hope WWE eventually bite the bullet and actually do something with Rhea Ripley and Kevin Owens, because they've been doing this sort of thing for ages between these two, and I think if anyone's good enough and safe enough and loved enough to pull it off an intergender match in WWE, it's probably Kevin Owens. Especially when the man's supposed to be the face. That's kind of the challenge, I think, with the intergender thing. And I think Kevin Owens can pull that off, absolutely. Back in the ring, Sami Zayn hit a haluva kick on Balor and went for a pin. That one was broken up by Dom with the Money in the Bank briefcase. And then Finn Balor just sort of rolled on top of Zayn off of that and pinned him for the 3, and we've got new champions. So Sami Zayn beat both members of Judgment Day in that match with haluva kicks, but both pins were interrupted. I put this as a chaotic, fun match. There was a really cool replay in the post-match replays where there was a cameraman underneath Kevin Owens as he did the swanton that, like, tracked him. So you watched the swanton from underneath. That was really fun. And it was a cool image when they got to the top of the ramp of Judgment Day just covered in gold because they had, they had the North American Championship on Dom. They had the Women's World Championship on Rhea. They had 2 sets of tag titles, obviously because there's still 2 sets of belts. On Finn and Damian, and they also had Damian having the Money in the Bank briefcase, which this sort of suggests to me we're a little way off Damian cashing in, which I'm fine with. Slow build it, absolutely. But yeah, this is a really fun match. I got this one wrong. I'm 3 out of 4 on predictions now, but not mad about it. The numbers game getting the better of them in a no DQ environment makes sense, and Zayn and Owens haven't done a whole lot since they won the tag titles, if I'm being perfectly honest. And I love both guys, but yeah, I think changing it up is probably the right move here. There was an advert next for NXT No Mercy, which is going to be September 30th. So look forward to my predictions and review of that. And up next, we had the Grayson Waller effect with Cody Rhodes, who, did the whole breaking the fourth wall. This is what normally happens on these segments. You normally upset me, and then we fight, and I crossroads you, or put you through a table or something, or destroy your set. Let's not do that. Instead, for some reason, Cody Rhodes has managed to convince WWE to sign Jey Uso to Raw. I don't know what Cody Rhodes has to do with this at all, but and it's interesting because they've split the Usos, but then they're not going to have them feud because I'm pretty sure I've heard somewhere the Usos have made it very clear over the years they have no interest in going against each other in WWE. Like, they've no interest in doing that story. So, but they want to see how they do as single stars. I hope this goes well for both of them. My honest prediction is that Jimmy's gonna not do a whole lot after the current thing with the bloodline dies down. And I think Jey Uso will be portrayed as reasonably good on Raw, but I don't think he's ever going to actually get near a singles title. If he does, maybe the Intercontinental title. He could even take it off Gunther, I guess, but I don't think it's going to be Jey Uso. But eventually, I think he's just going to slip down the card, and they're going to eventually just stick the Usos back together because they're just so much. The Usos together are so much more than the sum of their parts, and I'm not dismissing either of them as singles stars without having seen it by any stretch. I think they're both great wrestlers. But the Usos as a package are just incredible. They're one of the best tag teams ever, like, for my money. I'm a big fan of the Usos, and I just don't think this is going to last all that long. Certainly not forever. They're definitely going to get back together, in my opinion. Then so Jey Uso comes out, Cody Rhodes leaves the ring, vacates, lets Jey Uso have the center stage. And I put Waller chats it, gets banged. That's the expression, right? Chats it. He got super kicked, basically. Jey Uso said nothing. And Cody Rhodes was watching him from the top of the ramp, and he said something like, I hope I don't live to regret this, or I hope I know what I'm doing, or something like that, when he was introducing him. So I guess something's going to go down with Cody and Jey. Because obviously Jey was still involved in the bloodline when Cody lost to Roman Reigns. So, they sort of have unfinished business, even though Jey's now out of the bloodline, I guess. Up next was the Women's World Championship match. Raquel Rodriguez challenging Rhea Ripley. We had the obligate, just like the start of the cage match, where you just have to do this in a WWE cage match. When both competitors are big and strong, you have to do the hoss battle thing where they hit the ropes and run into each other and neither one gives, and it's just stupid. Why do big people always have to fight like that? Why can't they just punch each other or suplex each other right from the start? Like, I don't know. And I don't really feel like this match ever improved massively from there. There was some alright moments and stuff, but overall, I think this was the least interesting match of the night. Not in terms of the build, I mean in terms of the actual match, bell to bell. I was quite disinterested, and it was quite a plodding pace. Never felt like it really got going. There was a botch where Rodriguez was supposed to hit a powerbomb, but just dropped Rhea, basically. But they recovered okay from that. It was no biggie. But, like, it's not the botch that bothers me. It's just the pacing and the level of the match, like the amount of content in the match, just seemed lacking, honestly. I thought the match was nearing the end, or maybe it was wishful thinking, and then Rhea started going after the knee, and I was like, oh my god, how long is left? Rodriguez did like a powerbomb into the post, and then the barricade on the outside. A bit later, Dominic comes out and grabs Rhea Ripley by the arms when she's like near the ropes, and then Raquel drags them both into the ring because Strunk. She hit a running power slam on Dominic, but then Rhea used that distraction to hit a kick to the knee, a kick to the head, and then a riptide for the 3. And I put, very underwhelming match, too long for the amount of content in it. Yeah, it all felt like filler, like with the exception of about 2 or 3 spots. And it was quite a long match for that. And it didn't feel like, because I know wrestling matches need a lot of filler, because if you just go spot, done, you either end up with a match with 130 spots in it and it's way too much, or you end up with a match that's 35 seconds long. They're your 2 options if you just do spots. So I know there's a lot of filler, but it doesn't often feel like filler. And it just really felt fillery in this match. Just wasn't a huge fan. Just this one didn't hit the mark for me personally. Maybe I'm alone in this. Maybe other people feel the same way. Let me know in the comments. But I predicted this correctly. I picked Rhea to retain, so I go 4 out of 5 on predictions. Next, we had John Cena backstage being goofy John Cena, which is everyone's least favourite John Cena, I think. Wearing a suit jacket and bow tie, a pink bow tie on a t-shirt. Look at him. He's taking Miz's advice. Isn't he funny and silly and goofy? He interviewed Damian Priest and Finn Balor without any animosity, considering he's a babyface and they're heels. They just cut a promo about how their family and brothers fight, but when they're on the same page, no one can stop them. There was a real... the fun thing about this, because it was fairly standard, Finn Balor did the champs are here, which, obviously, with Cena there. But the bit I really liked, the bit that popped me, was Damian Priest at the end going, good job, kid, to John Cena, because obviously he's new to the interviewing thing, so he gave him the good job, kid props and then walked away. That tickled me. Apparently Cena was like channeling his Southpaw regional wrestling character. I never really watched that, so I didn't get the joke, but it's just silly, goofy John Cena, which I think is the worst John Cena. So there you go. Up next was a video package for something on October 7th, and I instantly wrote Fastlane, because the font and the presentation, the way there was like lines zooming around the screen. Yep, it's Fastlane. I don't like Fastlane here. I think it makes sense as part of the road to WrestleMania. You're on the road to WrestleMania, then you get into the fast lane to speed up the process of getting to WrestleMania on the road to WrestleMania. Here in October, it's what does Fastlane mean here? Like, it doesn't seem to mean anything now. Anyway, so yeah, that's October 7th, the next show. Next was an advert for the Kurt Angle documentary, which was aired after Payback. I've not watched that. I'm curious though. It looks good. I did notice, of course, Ric Flair was talking about himself in the clip from the documentary. Saying he said something about it makes my story look dull or something. But it's like we didn't ask you about your story. Talk about Kurt Angle. Like it was about Kurt Angle, but he managed to still talk about himself because classic Flair. Then the reminder that on Raw we have Chad Gable versus Gunther, and if Gunther retains, he's guaranteed to break the Honky Tonk Man's record. And I think they are going to do that. I absolutely do. But imagine if Chad Gable stopped Gunther from breaking it. That would be a really fun story, wouldn't it? Like, and it would be such a subversion of expectations to actually not have Gunther win it. I think a lot of people would be mad, like genuinely furious about that. But I think it'd be really cool. Like, I don't know, unpopular opinion, I think that'd be really cool if Chad Gable stopped Gunther from breaking the record by winning the IC title off him. Like, I'd be here for that. Anyway, finally, the main event. Seth Rollins defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Shinsuke Nakamura. I really loved Nakamura's anime video package after Seth had made his entrance. It was cheesy as anything, but that's why I loved it. It was really cool. I like that. I was hoping Nakamura would bring back his old heel music for this match and this heel run, but alas no, sticking with his babyface music. This was a good match, obviously focused around the story of Seth's back, as would have been expected. I didn't love the finish. Just to skip ahead right to the end immediately. I didn't love that. So the fact that Seth kind of hit the stomp out of nowhere and fell over for a few seconds and then crawled and covered Nakamura in a not convincing way, I was convinced Nak was going to kick out, and he just didn't. And I felt like it made Nakamura look quite weak. I know the stomp's quite protected in general, but with a few seconds pause and a weak cover, I think you can afford to kick out of it. And yeah, it just didn't feel like a finish to me, but it was. Also, I predicted Nakamura to win. I think that was more wishful thinking than anything. I'd love to see Nakamura actually get to the mountaintop. Nakamura stayed around at ringside after the match. Didn't attack Seth though, which I really wish he had. But I think maybe this issue is not going to be over with how Nakamura hung around, didn't get out of shot. He was almost intentionally in shot for almost the entire celebration after the match. But yeah, I went 4 from 6 on predictions overall, which isn't terrible. I should have just picked Rollins. I should have known Rollins was going to win that. I don't know if they're ever going to pull the trigger on Nakamura, and that makes me sad. But yeah, overall, pretty good show. Not a lot really stood out. Everything was solid. Probably the street fight was the best match. Cage match was probably second. And they were quite close. The cage match was really good. I know I laughed at Cole saying the match of the year. Wasn't match of the year, but you could make an argument for it being match of the night. I'm personally leaning more towards the street fight, though. And then I reckon maybe the world title match, the main event, third best. I don't know. The women's world title match was definitely the worst match on the show. And the other two matches were kind of nothingish, so yeah, I guess that's fair. But yeah, I'd say the street fight was the best match on the show. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. What was the best match? What was the worst match? How did you do on predictions? What did you think they got right? What did you think they got wrong? What do you agree with from what I said, and what do you disagree with? Let me know all of that in the comments. Why not? Also, if you could leave a like, it'd be greatly appreciated. Really helps me out. And subscribe if you're new here. But for now, all I have left to say is thank you very much for watching. As always, I've been EBEZA, you've been amazing, and I'll see you next time.